Here we go. I'm hoping we're on Facebook Live. I'm hoping that you will be ready to ask Dr. Fuhrman some questions because we are going to learn and grow together. So fasten your seatbelt and let's get ready to dance. Dr. Fuhrman, am I ever going to get you to dance on my show? I love asking. Nobody will fault me for asking. The day you start dancing will be the day where I'm over there with you. We'll dance together.
Come to San Diego.
Okay, I'll do that. I'll be going there soon, by the way.
Reach out to Lillian. Visit her on the web at whenyouneedafriend.com. Now let's all learn together. Here's Lillian McDermott.
Hello, my listening friend. It's so nice we can meet each other on the air on this beautiful, best day ever. And for those of you who've been tuning in for the last 7 years or just since yesterday, welcome back. But if this is your first time stumbling upon the show, then just know that I've been waiting for you. Just know that this is a place where you can go to when you need a friend. It is my commitment to provide alternative ways to heal, and it is my mission to make awareness, responsibility, and truth a part of our everyday life. And I hope you, my listening, as well as my viewing friends on Facebook Live, I'm hoping that I'm on Facebook Live. Yesterday, they had this major breakdown for Facebook, but hoping that it's all good. But if not, just know that you can listen to and watch this video later on YouTube. So today, we are going to do something different. Every time I am done with a show that Dr. Joel Fuhrman has been on, the questions just pour in. They pour in like you wouldn't believe. Well, we usually have a topic, and we stay very focused to this topic. But today I said to Dr. Fuhrman, we're so grateful. I am so grateful that you've been on this show. I think it's since 2015, not 19, 2015. And Dr. Fuhrman has been a loyal friend of the show. And so we've learned so much and have grown together. But sometimes people tune in for the first time and they're so intrigued, but they don't know, certain ways. Maybe they hear Dr. Fuhrman say something, but then they'll hear somebody else say something different. And it could be very conflicting. It is very conflicting. So today we get to answer questions. And for those of you who are watching on Facebook Live, if you have a question for Dr. Fuhrman, you're welcome to ask. And if we have time, I will ask Dr. Fuhrman. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am so grateful that Dr. Joel Fuhrman, author, physician, speaker, media personality, and advocate of all of us who want to heal our bodies naturally with food, with a whole food, plant-based lifestyle, Nutritarian lifestyle, whatever you want to call it, it's the G-bomb. And since it is our sole purpose in life to give and receive love and knowledge, I am grateful that Dr. Fuhrman is here to do just that. Welcome, Dr. Fuhrman, to the Lillian McDermott radio show.
Thank you, Lily. Great to be here as always.
And
looking forward to all the questions that your audience has prepared for me.
Yes. Well, I have my first question to you, because I know that we've listened and learned so much and grown together over the last several years. I want to know what's on your holiday table. What will be on your holiday table this year?
Well, the nice thing is I'm going to be in California with a lot of family members, and out there we get food that we sometimes can't get here. I get my exotic fruits like passion fruit and cherimoya and sapotes, and I'm growing them on my property out there. So that's going to be great. But basically, how everybody in the family eats something they love, something they want. So we might have more, so we might have like a whole wheat pizza with like onions and mushrooms and peppers on it or something, or some casseroles. But we may, I don't know. I don't think we've worked it all out yet, but whatever it is, it's going to be delicious.
And
I'm certainly going to make some of my great desserts,
And
what I do on the holidays is I always buy these fresh macadamia nuts in the shell, because if you buy them in the shell, they don't taste anything like a macadamia that's been cracked already.
Really?
They have a high degree of sweetness and flavor. So I crack them fresh, and I blend them up with some frozen banana and real vanilla bean powder and make a real homemade vanilla ice cream that can really be it's incredible. Maybe we'll put that on, some, crushed apples and with apples and cinnamon and nutmeg and flax seeds. Maybe we'll make like an apple surprise, maybe with a healthy crust with coconut and pecans and oats and dates mashed into a crust, little apples and, apples and raisins or currants with a dollop of this vanilla ice cream on top. But I don't do that all the time. I'm not going to really go in my garage hand cracking with a hammer all these macadamia nuts to make ice cream. But on the holidays, we do like a little extra time in the kitchen cooking to make things because we're doing it together. It's kind of a fun thing to do as a family.
Wow, I did not know you could do that. Now, there is this thing about raw nuts that you need to soak to get the enzyme out. Do you do that? Is that something that's real?
No, it's not important.
Not important with macadamians, or is it important with others? Or
it's not important with any nuts. There's no necessity to soak nuts at all.
Interesting. I've been soaking my nuts. Dr. Fuhrman, you don't soak your nuts?
I don't hardly even use soap.
That was funny. People don't know that about you. You are very funny. So you don't even use soap when you soak your nuts? Okay. So you're saying that it's not important to soak your nuts. What about that enzyme that's on the nut that kills the bugs?
Kills what bugs?
The bugs.
There's so much nonsense out there. It's just like, what? First of all, let's just say this really clearly.
Quickly.
There's been about a dozen studies on nuts that show that the more you eat, the longer you live. We'll talk about that after.
Okay, we're going to do that. And we're going to continue our conversation with Dr. Joel Fuhrman. I'm hoping that we're on Facebook Live. I'll check in a little bit. And we're going to continue our conversation worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. So you're telling me you don't soak your nuts? You know what? I could never ask that question with a straight face. I don't know why. So let me check and see if we are on Facebook Live. You are so funny. You are so funny. Let me see if I can pause. Great. So I'm going to continue the recording, but I can't for some reason see you guys. Let me see. Let me scroll down and maybe I'll see you. And I'll see the questions, Dr. Fuhrman. We already have some questions that I'll ask them. There you are. Okay, let's see. Jessica. Oh, can you talk about the E. coli issue with romaine lettuce? What would you like to say about that, Dr. Fuhrman? Thank you, Jessica, for your question.
I have nothing, insightful there, but I guess there's been some contamination issue. I don't know anything about it. So obviously we're not eating romaine lettuce right now, but you can eat other lettuces, and they'll certainly get to the cause of how this contamination occurred. And once this ends, it'll be over.
Yes, and it happens all the time with many things, not just romaine lettuce. We get so bad meats and we get so many we have to be very careful with our source. Isn't it important, Dr. Fuhrman, to really know our source of where our food comes from? And that's why you're such an avid gardener.
Well, yes, for most people, that's impossible to know their source of where their food comes from. They just get it from the nearest supermarket. I think it is very helpful and longevity promoting to grow some of your own vegetables. So there's something really so good for yourself emotionally and biologically to have your hands in the soil, planting materials and actually grow and eating plants as they're growing. And I definitely try to do that. And it's been a goal of my life to grow part of my own food. Not only is the food organic, but even the word organic could be contaminated. So we're talking about using the best quality soil.
Yeah. And you know what? We could probably do Facebook Live. We've got lots of questions here. I'm hoping to get to your questions. Thank you for watching. Share it with your friends.
McDermott,
Help
or
the
leave
show grow. Here we go.
407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott Radio Show, where we always learn and grow together. And today's teacher is Dr. Joel Fuhrman. You're listening to us on the radio. We're going to be watching us later on YouTube, on podcasts, and now on Facebook Live. So if you're driving and you need to go into work, just put it on your Facebook channel. Go to @Lillian's Radio Show, and you will be able to ask Dr. Joel Fuhrman. We already have lots of questions here. We should do this every time, Dr. Fuhrman. I do have some questions of people that have sent questions in. And so we talked about the nut issue. Maybe we could talk about that off the air, whether or not Dr. Joel Fuhrman soaks his nut with soap or not. So we're going to go on. We're going to move on. And so one of the questions, Dr. Fuhrman, and I'm not going to share names. This person wants to remain anonymous. And they're talking about muscle mass. It says the organ, the muscle is the largest, or the organ that creates longevity. This is a quote from Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, and the condition is called sarcopenia. And it's there's a conflict and confusion regarding protein and muscle mass loss. They want to know, according to this doctor, they say that half the body weight should be consumed in grams for protein a day. And another way they say it is 35 grams per meal 3 times a day. And their confusion, because they're trying to follow your Nutritarian lifestyle, the Nutritarian diet, but they're asking, will there be enough protein in a Nutritarian diet?
That is a very, very good question. So astute. And probably the most important question we'll get today, I think. So I should spend a little extra time answering.
Perfect.
Very important question. Number one, a Nutritarian diet, and the word Nutritarian means rich in nutrients, designed to maximize longevity. It's not based on some philosophical agenda, but just on what's best for each individual person to maximize longevity and live to be 100 years old in great health. And that means 100 years old in great health with your full mental faculties, your full body working, your muscles intact, you're not breaking hips and shrinking your muscles.
Yes.
So exactly. And protein is an important issue on a Nutritarian diet because it's mostly vegan. It's vegan or near vegan. People can eat some animal products, but if they're using animal products, they're using them in much lower amounts that are conventionally used. And it's designed not like the traditional low-fat vegan diets but it's not high in potatoes and rice like a macrobiotic diet. Mm-hmm. It's high in the high-protein plant foods like hemp seeds and nuts and broccoli and green vegetables and beans and tempeh and it's a higher protein vegan diet, and that makes it safer for the extent to the edges of life, like for toddlers and the elderly. Whereas most vegan diets are not ideal amounts of protein for both for growth phases of life, because as we get older, our ability to assimilate protein goes down, and our IGF-1 could drop too low, leading to muscle wasting, muscle loss, and frailty. Yes, so there's an optimal range of IGF-1, insulin-like growth factor 1, because IGF-1 is regulated by protein intake, especially animal protein intake. And the IGF-1 in America is between 200 and 250, which is way too high. It's in the range that we could say every single study that goes on long-term for decades with people shows more animal protein in a diet leads to more premature death, and that less carbohydrate and less plant foods, less of them leads to premature death. So the ketogenic diets and the paleo-type diets, even the amount of animal products in the American diet, about 30%, we know is deadly. It's cutting short people's lives dramatically. However, but finally regulating that protein is important, because some people, IGF-1 drops too low on a vegan diet. A Nutritarian diet prevents that from happening, but there are some individuals that even on a Nutritarian diet, that after the age of 80, their IGF-1 might drop too low, causing weakness or loss of muscle mass. There's a loss of muscle mass that goes on with aging now normally, and we want to retard that and then prevent that from happening. It's very important for your health and longevity. So what I'm saying right now is that we get about 30 grams of protein per 1,000 calories. And this idea that it's about 0.8 milligrams of protein per kilogram body weight, and that means about 40 to 50 grams is about right for most people. But as we age, the person is right what they said. About 70 grams of protein for a 150-pound person like me is better as I get over the age of 80. I'm only 65 right now. I'm maintaining my muscle mass.
Look at that. Are you going to show us your abs today? There we go. Oh, if you're watching on Facebook, oh, look at that. Dr. Joel Fuhrman shows off his abs on Facebook Live. I love it. Okay.
So look, I'm okay with it. I mostly am a vegan. I hardly ever have animal products, maybe a few times a year recreationally with my son skiing in the mountains of Montana or something, we're having it for, I shouldn't tell the vegans that for fun once in a while, but hardly ever. But the point is, I eat a super healthy diet. And I use hemp seeds, and I eat Mediterranean pine nuts. I eat lots of green vegetables and beans. My diet is relatively high in protein. You can follow me?
Yes.
But then the question is, when I'm get to be 75 or 80, my protein needs may not go up that much because my diet is already so well designed. And because at 75, I'm going to be like a 60-year-old. And at 85, I'm going to be like a 70-year-old. And now I'm a 65-year-old, and more like a 50-year-old. You know what I mean? So I don't, however, other people that haven't lived as healthy a life, they're aging faster. And their ability to digest protein well may go down earlier in life, like at 70 and 75, not at 80 or 85. And some of those people do require some animal products to keep their protein levels higher so they don't get muscle wasting. And we know by following people's IGF-1, because the ideal IGF-1 for longevity is probably between 100 and 150, not 200 to 250 like Americans are. But if your IGF-1 is dropping below 80 as you're getting older, you might have to modulate your protein and increase your protein a little bit to make sure it stays above 90 or 100, to make sure you're maintaining the muscle size. You want to have good agility and because too low a level of IGF-1 could also increase risk of frailty and immune system dysfunction, leading to a higher rate of cancer. And so we want to fine regulate that IGF-1 in the perfect sweet spot and not just assume for everybody a vegan diet is ideal. And also, very common, these nutritional vegan gurus advocate diets that are too low in fat and protein that cause people to get into trouble. A lot of people don't do well on those diets, and people have different needs. So we want to be able to modulate the diet to perfectly fit each person's individual need. So I thank you for that astute question, and I agree with the increased need of protein as people get older, and watching for that to regulate that accurately to make sure people are in great health and perfect health for them.
You know, and I think that could be a future show. I know we've tapped into protein in the past, but just a little bit. We haven't really given it its due importance. And if you're saying that this is a very important topic, perhaps maybe in the future we can talk about what would be, because, you know, when we're talking about a size of a meat, you know, you have this particular size of meat and you know the equivalent of the whatever protein it is. How does that translate to beans, or how does that translate to the greens that you're having? So that would be a great in the future to maybe do a topic like that where we can compare protein to protein.
Right, and I should say that because the Nutritarian diet is so already so protein and nutrient favorable, that if some people need to add a little bit of protein to it as they get over the age of 75 or 80, let's say, they don't need to add much. They just need to add a little extra if their IGF-1 is too low. That's not common, but if they needed to, we don't say, oh, well, I don't do well on a vegan diet, so I eat a paleo diet. You go, I don't do on a vegan diet, so I add just a little touch of animal products, a couple of, you know what I'm saying? Because we know that more animal products lead to premature death. So we got to be very careful.
Very careful.
Specific with our advice and not get people into trouble on either extreme.
Perfect. And then how do you know you have sarcopenia? How do you know that is, so you test your IGF-1?
All people in America have sarcopenia and osteoporosis and osteopenia. Osteopenia means loss of bone mass, and sarcopenia means loss of muscle mass with aging. It's a normal consequence of aging. It's not a disease. It's normal. It's normal to lose bone mass with aging. It's normal to lose muscle mass with aging. You're not going to maintain the muscle mass and the strength you had when you were 30 years old, when you're 70 years old. This is never going to happen. We want to slow the process down, but we can't totally stop it. But that's why we lift. That's why we exercise, though.
That's okay. So that's good. Can you talk a little bit about that, Dr. Fuhrman? The importance of exercise. Well,
it's important to exercise more as we get older, not less. And it's important to do muscle building activity to keep our muscle mass and to keep our physical, and to keep our body lean, because there's a natural tendency to lose muscle mass with aging, and protein digestibility goes down, what we're talking about. So to retard osteopenia and sarcopenia, we want to exercise. And I'm saying right now, you lose muscle and bone mass together. You can't have osteopenia without sarcopenia. You can't have sarcopenia without osteopenia. Weak muscles and weak bones grow and together. So the whole point is that exercise keeps that retards that natural process of aging.
Perfect. And muscle is very important, lifting weights. Okay, so the next question I have for you is, can a Nutritarian diet reverse BPH or enlarged prostate? And if so, how?
Probably not. In other words, the Nutritarian diet reverses prostate cancer. I've had scores of men with prostate cancer who follow a Nutritarian diet that reverse their cancer. But BPH starts much earlier in life and does relate it to high IGF-1 and a high animal product diet, which enlarges the prostate. But it's very hard to shrink the prostate once it's enlarged. It's as a home, so you can shrink prostate and stop the prostate cancer. But as far as BPH, because a lot of times BPH encroaches on the lumen, so you don't get as much flow of blood. And also the prostate. So the ability of the prostate to shrink back again, the benign tissues have been overly stimulated, is very poor. So I don't want to give the false impression that benign prostatic hypertrophy or BPH is easy to reverse. Even if you could shrink the prostate a little bit, it's not enough to restart and get the flow going through the center as much. So there's very limited ability to shrink the prostate once it enlarges that much.
Any advice for you? Any advice for them to what would you suggest for that? Is there, because I don't like to.
We don't want them eating so that it gets worse. We don't want, but if it is very severe, it has to be treated medically. Certainly we moderate. If it's moderate, they don't have to do anything. They just don't drink water at night. They don't wake up to pee as much. They're on a healthy diet. But if it gets bad, it has to be treated by conventional physicians.
Okay.
They're obstructed. They're not able to pee. So there's some things that require conventional care if it gets severe.
Okay. Well, we will maybe continue that conversation. Maybe another show that we can do on that one. Okay. So we have a question from Robbie. Robbie, thank you so much for joining us on Facebook Live. Can you please settle the debate on GMOs?
I didn't know there was some debate to settle.
Okay. What would you like to say about GMOs? Don't settle the debate. Just say whatever you want to say about GMOs.
Why would we want to put chemicals in our food? What's the debate? Why would we want not to eat natural food in its natural state? I got to brag for a minute because I'm such a fanatic that I don't even want to put commercial fertilizer on my food, because the fertilizer could have chicken manure in it. The chicken manure could have arsenic in it. I have my fertilizer at my retreat in California. I have wild bat guano, wild forest compost, crushed mineral rock, gold earthworm castings where the earthworms are fed a healthy, clean diet of leaves and things. So I'm using, it's not even a commercial fertilizer. It's all natural fertilization based on composted and worm castings and bat poop. You know what I mean? So it's like, I don't want, so they were talking about putting chemicals all over our food. And this chemical contamination in the oatmeal has glyphosate in it. And then we have oatmeal that's contaminated. The brown rice is contaminated right now. We have everything being contaminated. It's so important nowadays to make some of our own food, to make your own garden bed, to put some good soil in there, to have a compost bin, to water it with your own clean water. It's in so it may get worse. So this GMO stuff, I don't see the controversy.
And we gotta go on a break. We'll be right here waiting for you with Dr. Joel Fuhrman. Oh my gosh, I forgot. I am just so focused on you that I lost track that we're on the radio in Jacksonville. So with that in mind, Dr. Fuhrman, thank you so much for that question. I totally agree with you. People don't understand. I think that we have been lied to out of convenience and making things cheaper for the big groups that mass produce food. So, I guess the debate that Robbie is talking about is that some people are like saying that there's nothing wrong with GMOs. And you have settled, there's no debate. There's no question about it. There have been some tests that have done.
Why should we be taking chances eating chemicals in our food supply? What are people nuts? They don't think the cleaner food is better for you than dirtier food? No, it's like,
you're absolutely right. I think though, Dr. Fuhrman, with all fairness, many people believe everything they see on television, and the television's being sponsored by these large corporations that keep the television going and the commercials going. And that's why, I always say I need sponsors that are like-minded, that will not censor this show, because it's so important that we tell that new truth that GMOs are, because they used to say that this helps the produce last longer and that you don't kill this or kill that. Dr. Lorraine Day was on my show. She said, hey, listen, if you don't think anything about GMOs, then you feed me my organic food. I'll spray Raid on it and I'll give it back to you. And she said, go ahead and eat it then. So she said, it all depends on your perspective and what you've been told. So many people don't know how harmful GMOs are. So I wonder if that's what you meant, Robbie, about genetically selected foods such as modern bananas that are more sweet than ripe. So do you have any questions about that? So
Well,
he's followed up with a modern, the foods
when
are
we're talking
sweeter.
GMOs, we're mostly talking about issues related to Roundup and Monsanto, where farmers can now use high doses of pesticides and herbicides to kill weeds that won't kill the crop.
Yeah.
And you have more residue you have more glyphosate residue in the crop. And then there's the GMOs making like bigger salmon and bananas that are sweeter, or papayas that are resistant to disease. And those things are more, I think in those cases, it's more unknown whether there's harm involved in splicing genes and making better fruit that resists pests. It's not enabling us to use more pesticides. It's just making us to feed more people with having a bigger banana or something.
Yeah.
And so it's likely the case that some harm may come of that if taken too far. But there's so much unknown there. It's always safer to go with Mother Nature, and that's why a lot of us are using heirloom seeds and using, we don't want to get the seeds of this. We want to get more of the natural plants and natural soils. So the answer to that question is nobody can answer that question.
Yeah.
Maybe
so when in doubt, use organic. But they came up with a list that was the Clean 15 and the Dirty Dozen. Is that a real list?
Yeah,
I just find that soaking your nuts isn't important. But so is this Clean 15 a real list?
Yes, it's definitely important to have, when you're eating foods that are not organic, to go with foods that we know have less pesticide residue on them. That's certainly real. But this gentleman who asked that question is talking about not food that may be genetically modified to grow better, or be bigger, or be sweeter. If we should be eating, and mostly, and all fruits and vegetables are genetically modified to a degree in which we select out for species that have performed better, or have a better shelf life, or last longer in the supermarket, or don't get crushed as easier, so it's for better distribution. That is a very controversial topic that I really, not an expert in, and nobody has the answer to that right now.
I mean, if you think about it, even if they're making it sweeter, they did that with the almond. And now we don't have the real almond. It's a different kind that has different nutrients to them. And I see that we're going back on the air. Here we go. Thank you for watching on Facebook Live. So grateful for you. And I'm excited that everything is falling into place, Dr. Fuhrman. So this is where I talk about my show.
You can text Lillian McDermott or leave
I'll
her
go back to ask
at
answering your questions.
407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show, where you can hear us worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. I'm your host, Lillian McDermott, and it is my goal that we learn from each other. And I am so excited every time Dr. Joel Fuhrman comes on the show to share his wisdom. He is our teacher today. Not only is he teaching us on the air, he's on the radio. He's also, we are also on Facebook Live. So take us with us at 8 o'clock in the morning. If the show is live, it's going to be on Facebook Live. If Facebook cooperates, let me just put it this way. But for those of you who would like to continue this message and help the show grow, I encourage you to go to whenyouneedafriend.com. When you subscribe to whenyouneedafriend.com, the podcast that we do, the audio gets sent to you. And we also send you some free gifts, the 90-day challenge to self-love ebook that I wrote. And also, there are so many different ways that we can stay connected, that we can help promote wellness, mind, body, and spirit. When you go to whenyouneedafriend.com, there's a lot of buttons that you can click on, like follow me on Facebook at Lillian's radio show. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter, although I really don't know about Twitter, but just you can follow me there if you'd like. But there's a button that says YouTube. So the YouTube channel, click on that. And when you click on that, you get to subscribe. And when you do that, the shows are sent to you. And that way you don't have to be searching for all over if you don't have the time, if you want to watch or listen to a show. And the shows on YouTube and Facebook Live are conversations on and off the air. So take us with you, us everywhere you go. or take us with you everywhere you go. You can also follow us on demand on iTunes, Google Play Music, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify. So many different ways to stay together. And you can also call me at 407-373-5959. We're normally giving away things, but today we're taking your questions live with Dr. Joel Fuhrman. Dr. Fuhrman, I am so grateful to you. You don't need to promote yourself or anything, but you're so loyal to the show, and I am so grateful. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay, so we have more questions, and we just finished talking about GMOs, so you can go to the Facebook Live video or YouTube later on. Okay, so we have a question from Chris, and Chris is interested in finding out how to determine gut health and its function, such as leaky gut, bacteria, overgrowth, and intolerances, etc. He wants to know, how do you test if that is the issue, or do you suggest just changing the diet altogether?
Well, number one, we shouldn't do any testing on people until they're eating a healthy diet.
Okay.
Because it's a waste of money, and they're very expensive tests. And if you can't have a healthy microbiome unless you eat healthy food. So if you're eating a diet with sweets in it and with a lot of animal products in it, you're going to be having bad bacteria producing unfavorable inflammatory compounds like trimethylamine oxide from the growth of unhealthy bacteria. So there's no need to test it if your diet's poor. If your diet's excellent, there's also no need to test, because over time you're going to push out the bad factors and push in the good factors.
Yeah.
So the 4 foods that promote the healthy microbiome and thicken the biofilm covering the villi are, the 2 raw foods are raw green leafy vegetables, particularly raw green cruciferous vegetables like collard greens and mustard greens and turnip greens and arugula and watercress.
Yeah.
And then raw onion or scallion, and then cooked mushroom and cooked beans, because beans have the most resistant starch, and the other types of fibers in mushrooms promote the growth of good bacteria. And then you have a microbiome that's adherent to the villi. That's why it's called the biofilm. It's not traveling and passing through you. When you eat sauerkraut or yogurt and you get those bacteria, they go right through you. When you take a probiotic, it's not as effective as eating a healthy diet. So the first thing is to eat a healthy diet. If you're chewing well, if you're eating salads every day, if you're eating mushrooms and nuts and beans and onions every day, and then you're still having digestive disturbances, severe bloating, indigestion, then we could do stool analysis to look at the microbiome. But in most of those cases, once they're eating healthy, it's not the microbiome that's causing the problem. It's parasites that are causing the problem, like Blastocystis hominis and Enteromoeba histolytica. Then we usually do stool analysis, and we find some bad actors in there on occasion. But the bad actors are usually not the bacterial imbalances when the person's eating healthy. We only find the bacterial imbalances when the person is eating unhealthy. So when the person's eating healthy, it's usually something they drank in contaminated water that's a mild parasite that we have to probably kill or something. So it's usually, so then we could do one of those expensive stool analyses that look at all the bacteria and do microscopic analysis to see if there's any cysts or parasites in there that shouldn't be there. So we do sometimes add stool analysis. So I think that, and as far as food intolerances, the blood, that's a different story, because the blood tests for food intolerances, like the ACAT test, the IgG test, they're not accurate. And they have people avoiding foods needlessly, and they're just, they're also not the only way to test that is by eating food and not eating food, and eating, like put it in your diet for 2 days, record how you do, take it out for 2 days, put it in for your 2 days. So we rotate, and we test foods, and you shouldn't be removing foods from your diet that you're not having trouble digesting. If you have trouble digesting beans, we still eat them, but we titrate them down gradually to the lowest amount consumed where the person isn't feeling indigestion. And then with eating that regularly, they can usually eat some more with time. We don't want to exclude foods for digestive intolerances, because that's going to lead to worse health and more digestive intolerance in the future, because our body can learn to digest what it gets used to digesting. So instead of, when you figure out what's bothering you, you titrate it down to lower amounts and you find the amount that's safe for you. Because once you're doing that, even if it's a half a cup, even if it's a half a teaspoon of beans, even if it's 1 teaspoon of beans a day, eventually with time, you'll be able to eat a couple of tablespoons. Because because 2 tablespoons of beans a day increases lifespan by 8% in scientific studies.
Wow.
So
Wow.
even
2
if you can't eat that
tablespoons?
much
Did you
of it-
say 2 tablespoons, Dr. Fuhrman?
I said 2 tablespoons of beans a day has been shown to increase lifespan by 8%. Just 2 tablespoons a day. Tremendous effect on lifespan and cancer protection. So even if you don't feel you're digesting beans well, you should still eat a small amount, because even a small amount's going to give you dramatic lifespan benefits.
That's amazing. And, I want to add to what you just said. I remember my husband was having issues with digesting onions. So we follow a Nutritarian lifestyle. And he was like, I just can't eat these onions. And I asked you about it. And you said, just shave them really, really tiny and just start giving them a little bit at a time. Man, the man can eat more onions than I do now. And it's so true. We just have to be gentle to our body. Our body is speaking to us all the time. Why is it that we choose not to listen, Dr. Fuhrman?
Well, the modern food environment is tremendously addictive with highly palatable, highly salted, highly seasoned foods, but they also rush to the bloodstream very rapidly. And my biggest gripe is people thinking oil is a health food, how the oil industry has managed to brainwash and scam the public to thinking that olive oil and coconut oil are health foods. And people think the most fattening foods they can eat and they're cooking with them, and they're heating up oils, and they're causing cancer, and they're causing obesity. We have the whole population being overweight, pouring oil, pouring fat calories directly on their food. So why do people do that? They're a herd animal, and they do what other people do, and they go along with the masses, and they think if everybody else is doing it, it must be right. And if all the media is telling us that, it must be right. If everybody believes it, it must be right. Why do everybody have the same belief systems in a certain country, and then another country has a different belief system with different, it's all based on what most people in your area where you live in your family, how they think, and you think like your family thinks. People don't have the ability to think independently and clean and fresh with a fresh way of thinking, looking at the facts and weighing evidence without being affected by what they've been told to think through their whole life. And then food is very addicting, and in their brain, it makes them want to eat it too. So that contributes to it as well. So it's hard to get people to rethink their relationship with food and redo it.
It is. It really is. It's a lot easier. When I announced that I was going to stop eating animal products, well, just beef, and at the time it was beef and pork, you could have my parents would have been happier if I would have said, hey, I'm walking away from my religion. They would have been happier. But what do you mean you're not going to eat meat? So it's like, it became like
it's all the same thing, it's all the same thing.
Okay, so
I don't want why should people be? I think if we're going to eat animal products, lizards, salamanders, frogs,
now you're crazy.
worms, those are much more consistent with the heritage of humans.
Okay, let's just ponder that thought a little bit. Okay, so I have lots of questions about beans, but I think you answered most of them with that particular one. But here's a follow-up question with this immune system issues that we're having, and I know we have 1 minute left. I got to keep an eye on the clock on the radio. Can you give 3 foods or foods that are especially good for elimination diets that are tolerated with most people?
Well, a Nutritarian diet is, in that word, G-bombs are designed for people to have the full spectrum of phytochemicals that work synergistically to help detoxify and fight cancer. Even beans, by the way, the lectins in beans bind toxic metals and help remove poisons from the body. So when you're talking about detox, you do still want to put a little bit of bean in there, because it has those effective. So I think the G-bombs does it all, but that doesn't mean there aren't individuals who have to eliminate certain categories of foods. They could be nut allergic, or they can't handle soybeans, they can't handle, But in any case, we're talking about a diet. Any diet that's healthy has to be rich in green vegetables.
Okay, with that in mind, we're gonna make sure we announce that for those of you who are listening on Facebook Live or on the radio or later on YouTube, you just know that we're right here. We're gonna continue our conversation worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. We'll be right here waiting for you. We made it through. We made it through before so for those of you who are watching, there's also a radio show going on, and I don't know how to scroll down. If anybody could teach me how to scroll down, because Dr. Fuhrman, we got lots of questions on Facebook Live. I love you guys all. I hope that you subscribe to my channel as well, my Facebook page. And I don't know how to scroll down. So can somebody help me with that? How do you scroll down to see everybody's I'm only seeing the ones that are on the top. So let me just.
You can't click expand. I think it says expand, a little arrow.
Oh, where's the expand? Okay, let me see if where did you see expand, Dr. Fuhrman?
Oh, I'm not seeing your Facebook page. I'm just seeing your picture on my screen. So I don't have what I can't.
Okay, so let me see.
I can go to my Facebook Live page or something.
Okay, let me see how I do that. Okay, I'll just ask some of the questions. And from Martha, she says, what about lectins and beans? What about lectins and beans? What about the lectins and beans? I mean, how does that help the body? I guess that's the question, Martha?
Yeah, so that's the point, is that the lectins in foods do have anti-cancer and bone strengthening effect, and they do help the body remove toxins. So they're an important part. This idea that lectins are something to be feared, they're only to be feared if the beans are not cooked. So we're eating beans either sprouted or cooked, which prevents the harmful lectins and allows only the good lectins to come in. So beans are a very healthy food, but they have to be sprouted or cooked. And there's no controversy there at all. There's zero evidence that cooked beans are harmful. And matter of fact, there's overwhelming amount of data from all the blue zones and all the bean studies that show that they extend lifespan, reduce risk of cancer, and improve immune function against infection like pneumonia. Matter of fact, in the Nurses' Health Study, the food with the most protection against breast cancer was found to be, the lowest rate of breast cancer was found to be in women who ate beans 3 or more times a week, more than any other food.
Wow.
So beans are one of the most powerful lifespan enhancing foods. And if we rate carbohydrates on a hierarchical scale of quality, with which has the most anti-cancer ingredients in it, and phytochemicals and micronutrients and fibers and resistant starches and low glycemic, beans are the most favorable starch you can eat. So it's less potatoes, less rice, more beans, more chickpeas, more peas. Those are the most favorable. And among the grains, probably quinoa is the best grain. Quinoa is a better grain than rice or potato anyway. Brown rice is contaminated with arsenic. So not to eat brown rice, and to eat more quinoa and of course more beans, of course.
Yes. Okay. So I have a question, and I don't know how to expand this, and I'm going to get a tutorial on how to expand this, but the questions are going away. And so if somebody can teach me how to do that, I will do that. Okay. So one of the questions was, food is important, but what about our water source? It's full of chemicals and toxins. What do you suggest? What's your opinion on that, Dr. Fuhrman?
I agree with that person as well. We shouldn't be putting contaminated substances and dirty things in our body, things that are contaminated with chemicals. I have a water purifier in my house, and I think people should. They can, if you can have those little water purifiers where you pour the water in, it's better than nothing. You buy them for $20, $30 at Costco or something. These filters, you pour the water in the filter will come through. I have one that's more expensive. You can count on me.
Maybe we can do a little bit extension after the show.
Oh, we're done already?
No, we're going back. We're going back. This is our fourth segment.
407-373-5959. Once again, here's Lillian.
Welcome back to the Lillian McDermott radio show. All the planets have lined up. Facebook Live is working. The radio show. I love you guys that are listening on the radio while you're driving to and from your favorite places. And we have one of my favorite teachers, Dr. Joel Fuhrman, who is world renowned. We normally give away his books or his PDFs, but today he's giving away his live answers to your questions. And so we have so many questions about that have come in prior to the show. We also have everybody on Facebook Live that are asking so many questions. So let's hold tight. Once I figure out how to expand Facebook, if somebody's going to, let me see. Okay, so the question that I have next for you, it says, is it true, now that we found out that nuts don't need to be soaked, is it true that fiber interferes with the absorption of calcium? What can you say about that, Dr. Fuhrman?
Well, there are certain, there's some anti-nutrients, phytates, not fiber. There's the phytates and oxalic acid in spinach, rhubarb, parsley, Swiss chard, that does bind calcium. So we want people not to make raw, and especially when those foods are raw, they have more oxalic acid that binds calcium. So we want people not to use raw spinach as their major raw vegetable in their salad. Oh. It should be only a minor amount of spinach should be used, like not more than 1/3 of their raw green intake should be from spinach, because from spinach, the calcium is not bioavailable to the body. So they shouldn't have a diet high in oxalates. But fiber has nothing to do with that.
Okay, so so you're saying it's not fiber, it is?
Phytates. Phytates are phytic acid that binds calcium.
Phytase. Oh, very, very good. I'm glad that you talked about that. Okay, so what about when someone has vitiligo? Will Nutritarian lifestyle help vitiligo?
Yes, vitiligo is an autoimmune disease where it attacks your skin, and it makes your skin turn white. It takes the melanin or the color out of your skin. And autoimmune diseases can be repaired and halted. But then after the autoimmune disease is halted, it could take a few years for the skin color to come back. So it's not going to suddenly make it disappear, but it can stop the process of the autoimmune condition. With psoriasis, it's different because it may take 6 to 9 months on a Nutritarian diet to resolve psoriasis, or even a year. But then it's going to be resolved and it'll be gone because it will resolve. But vitiligo takes longer for the melanin cells to grow back and skin color to be able to tan again. So yes, a Nutritarian diet, because it's so designed to be so immune system supporting and so powerfully against cancer, that's able to repair autoimmune diseases so people can get well from multiple sclerosis, asthma, vitiligo, psoriasis, and rheumatoid arthritis. So it's very, very, it's one of the thrills of my life is watching people recover from those very serious illnesses.
Dr. Fuhrman, one time you said that you felt that you had made a mistake in your first To Eat to Live book, that you said to eat well, I think it was 80% of the time. And
no, 90%, the 90% rule.
Okay, so you had said
people that if they're eating 90% of all the right foods, they can take that 10% and have freedom to do what they want with it. But for so many people, that drives them into food addiction and binging, and that's not something I really support. It might be, it's not something I'm advocating. I want people to eat healthy 100% of the time, and that's the way most people are going to be able to stick with this and enjoy it fully. The mistake in Eat to Live is the fact that you think you have to cheat or eat those other foods, but in reality, you get more content and because I'm eating the foods I love to eat the most, but the foods I love to eat the most are the healthiest foods. I don't need a real cookie made with white flour and sugar. I don't need conventional ice cream. My Nutritarian ice cream is more pleasant. It's just as enjoyable to me. I don't need to eat I can stick with I can be 99% perfect and get just as much pleasure out of eating and pleasure out of life.
Yeah. Yes,
so
absolutely.
I know that sounds radical and makes people angry and they don't want to be that perfect. But I'm just saying that it's fun to really do this all the way because you get such incredible benefits as far as aging and prevention of disease. And you don't enjoy food less. It has miraculous effects of making you heighten your enjoyment of eating. But you don't need that stuff anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's true. You talk about radical, that it sounds radical to want to eat well and feed your body food medicine, like food
Right.
as medicine, that's somehow radical. But we don't even think about, how we deplete our life with food as well. And we don't call that radical. So we need to change our perspective about food and how it is supposed to be in our body and how it's supposed to satisfy us. Okay, so I'm going to go to Facebook Live right now, and I'm going to ask you a question from Jen. Jen asks for your thoughts about kidney stones and high oxalate food.
We answered part of that already because we talked about high oxalate foods binding calcium, but high oxalate foods can also contribute to kidney stones in people who are oxalate stone formers. So we want to remove the spinach, rhubarb, parsley, and spinach, parsley, and Swiss chard. We want not to have those raw foods that are higher in oxalate, but they don't have to eliminate all the low oxalate foods. But we do give those people extra magnesium, a little extra B6, probiotics, and extra water between meals. So we do want to have the person who's a stone former, and we follow their urine subsequently to make sure they're not putting out much oxalate or calcium oxalate in their urine by the fact that we change their diet to be low, take the animal products out, because animal products makes the oxalate precipitate out of from the acid, makes the the oxalate stones form. But once you're out of the animal products, you don't eliminate all the oxalate foods, just reduce the high oxalate ones, mostly raw spinach, and drink more water, and take the magnesium, the B6, and the probiotics.
How much raw is acceptotable, because if you're saying, that it's that you shouldn't have like raw spinach, or what about kale, or the other ones that you mentioned, Swiss chard, but do some greens, and this is a question from Philip, do some greens because of you should cook them because of hypothyroidism, or he's asking about hyperthyroidism and how greens affect that?
No, that's essentially an exaggerated myth that's been really distorted on the internet.
Okay, let's clear it up.
Where people think that cruciferous vegetables can suppress the thyroid, and therefore you don't eat a lot of them raw. That's just not true.
Okay.
In iodine sufficient, and people who are not iodine deficient, that simply doesn't happen unless you're juicing large amounts. Because to form a glass of cruciferous juice, you probably had to use like 10 pounds of greens to form one glass. So unless you're drinking it or over drinking it or eating, or that's your whole diet is nothing but bok choy, it's impossible to eat enough raw cruciferous to have that effect in an iodine sufficient person. So eat all the cruciferous you want, and whether you have thyroid disease or not, it doesn't matter. So your diet's not going to be, if you have we're talking about a diet that has numerous foods in it, of course, green vegetables, beans, nuts, fruit, whole grains, so unless your diet is in one food, and that wouldn't be imbalanced to cause a problem like that, but that would be imbalanced anyway. Who's going to have their diet be just one food? It would only happen if you ate nothing but green cruciferous vegetables. The minute you have a balance in your diet, it doesn't matter how much you eat, you're not going to make it more than half your diet. You're not going to eat raw greens as half your caloric intake or more. That would be almost impossible to do. You follow me? So it's a non-question. It's not an issue.
Okay. Okay. So Dr. Fuhrman, we've got very little time left on this broadcast on the air. We still have Facebook Live here, and I want to see if I can address some of these questions that are being asked. Let's talk about the importance. And for those of you who follow Dr. Joel Fuhrman, go to drfuhrman.com, and you can also listen to any of his podcasts for the last 3 years on the show. So Dr. Fuhrman, it's your opportunity to wish us all that if you could change our perspective about food, what would you tell us? If you knew that we were open to listen, what would you tell us about G-bombs, about the Nutritarian lifestyle, about just switching our mindset?
Well, I'd say, why risk getting cancer and heart attack and strokes and dementia? Why not live to be 100 in great health? The Nutritarian diet is the only program where every single peg of the hole has been addressed. There's no flaws to make a mistake to destroy your health. Almost every other program has flaws in it that can in some way hurt you, including, but the bottom line is, this is fun, and it's exciting, and it's a blessing to learn about this information. It's fun, it's exciting, it's fun to eat this way. So it's called a no-brainer, and there are some people suffering with severe food addictions, and they need help, and they need to come into my facility, stay with me, or, get with some of our counselors, but there's no reason to be on medication and be sick anymore. There's no people on blood pressure medication, statin drugs, autoimmune diseases. What I'm saying is that that nutritional excellence is 100 times more effective than drugs, and you don't have to be sick anymore.
Absolutely. I will say that is the best advice we can have. We can choose health. We can choose health and take our health back. Please remember, thank you, Dr. Fuhrman. Thank you. Please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you worldwide at whenyouneedafriend.com. This is Lillian McDermott wishing you love, peace, joy, and unexpected abundance. Make it the best day ever. Okay, Dr. Fuhrman, we are off the air. You have been absolutely wonderful. Do you have some time to answer some questions on Facebook Live?
Sure. We'll take 5 more minutes?
5 more minutes. Okay, let me see what I can find. Okay, I've been in a very low vitamin B12. What is the best way to supplement? Injections, pills, okay, nasal supplements?
Doesn't matter. Just take B12.
Okay, perfect. Okay, should we be taking vitamins, supplements? Should we be taking vitamin supplements? When you're eating a Nutritarian, I'm assuming that what she's saying is, should you be taking vitamins and supplements when you're on a Nutritarian lifestyle?
Absolutely.
Okay, which ones do you recommend?
Because I advocate people are not eating animal products like the contaminated fish and too much protein. They're eating mostly vegetables. And animal products, you get much more zinc exposure. You're 80% absorbable, where vegetables, you only absorb 20% of the zinc. And as you age, zinc absorbability goes down. So definitely I recommend people take B12, vitamin D to be in that sweet spot between 25 and 45, to take some vitamin D, unless they're living in a sunshine state and they're outdoors a lot, But we want to have vitamin D adequacy. We want to have B12 adequacy. We don't want to have deficiency. And most importantly, DHA adequacy. If you don't take a little bit of DHA, so many people on vegan or near-vegan diets are going to develop shrinkage of the brain and dementia with aging, and have people that be exposed to be getting risk of depression due to DHA or EPA deficiencies. Yeah. So definitely I recommend people take zinc, B12, vitamin D, and DHA, and probably K2 and iodine if you're not having seaweed in your diet. So I don't remember to eat seaweed or whatever it is. So I have, my supplements have all those things in them to make sure that on a person on a healthy nutritarian diet or a vegan diet is going to get what the animal product would have given them. Had they been eating the fish more, they would have got the DHA, extra zinc, maybe the iodine, not the K2, not the vitamin D, maybe the B12, but I want to make sure we're not taking risks with people's lives. We're not using supplements to give them high amounts of anything. We're just making sure they're not deficient in anything.
Okay.
We're just giving them nutritional excellence from the plant kingdom, and then making sure there's nothing missing from the animal kingdom that's causing a deficiency. And some people are more prone to those deficiencies than others. And I think it's so reprehensible and irresponsible that so many vegan gurus in the nutritional community are advocating you don't need any supplements except for B12, and causing women to get postpartum depression, people to get demented, and people develop serious illnesses in later life that I see all the time. You want to just strangle these people. Strangle these nutritional gurus telling them, oh, you only need B12 and this person shrunk their brain, or this person, is deficient in, severe vitamin D and they have a spastic gut now and they've been vomiting and they lost their, there's serious issues from these nutritional deficiencies. So we have to make sure that we don't screw people up.
Yes. Okay. So Dr. Fuhrman, I've interviewed so many people. In the last 7 years, I've interviewed so many people. I will say that you have, to me, anyone that comes to me and says, oh, I want to do a show on paleo or keto or do this or that, I'm saying no. But I have to understand that not everybody is where I'm at. And I try to bring a balanced perspective so that people start going towards healthier eating. But by far, a nutritarian lifestyle is by far the best way to eat, because you do not restrict people. You don't restrict them from animal products. You don't restrict them. You allow people to listen to their body. Now, just recently, I discovered something called body typing. There's certain people. Do you think that there are people that must have animal products? They're saying that there are certain body types that require animal products, that are there are body types that do not require animal products, and that if you answer a certain level of questions and you do some research, what is your opinion about that, Dr. Fuhrman?
That is the biggest scam and nonsensical stuff. They're going to ask you certain questions like, do you like to smoke cigarettes? Do you feel bad when you don't smoke? You're a cigarette smoking type because you feel bad when you don't smoke. You don't do well when you're not smoking. Yeah. It's totally bogus. It's just absolutely insane, ridiculous. However, there are some people who need animal products, but you can't figure that out through these body typing questions. That's a scam. And you can't figure it out through your blood test or through your, what blood type you are either. That's just not true. The way to figure it out is by checking on your levels of amino acid patterns in your blood and your Igf-1 if it's getting too low, or your amino acids are deficient if you're not absorbing them well. You go right to the issue. If you need more vitamin D, we don't look and see what your mother's color, your mother's last name, maiden name spelled backwards, and your eye color or your shoe size doesn't tell you if you need more vitamin D. You got to check your vitamin D level. There's no test that people can answer to say if they're a type that's going to be low in vitamin D. There's no verbal test they can answer to see that they need more protein. We got to test for the protein. We got to test the vitamin D. We got to need more zinc. We got to test for the zinc. In other words, let's look at the precise parameter in question and see if it's real or not, or it's some just crazy. So these people who don't need more protein, who shouldn't be eating animal products, fill out this questionnaire, and it's telling them they should eat a certain diet. That's not real.
Okay.
If they're not thriving on a vegan diet and need more animal protein, then check your blood test for protein and check your blood test for an Igf-1 test.
Is that Igf-1 test? Because I want to do that. I think that sounds like a very important test for everyone to do. Is that an expensive test?
It's a waste of money.
It's a waste of money. Okay. So then okay, you said check your Igf-1.
Yes, it's because you're already eating a diet that's either vegan or near vegan. Your IGF-1 is going to be favorable. The IGF-1 goes up or down with the animal product intake.
Okay.
It's only, people only need that test, over the age of 75 to see if their IGF-1 is getting too low, to see if they need more protein in their diet.
Got it.
Follow me?
I
You don't
follow
need it.
you.
You're middle-aged, and you're not going to need more protein in your diet right now.
Just call me middle-aged.
Yes.
Okay, I've got one more question. I'm gonna ask. I think we've addressed this already, and if we have, because we've answered so many questions. But could Hashimoto's disease be reversed with nutrition?
No, it's not reversible.
Okay, so can you say more about that?
People can lose weight and get healthier, and they'll require less thyroid medication. Their thyroid medication may be cut in half, but that's not because you repair the thyroid. It's because you're treating a lower body mass. There's less body, I have reversed some cases that we caught it right when it was starting, when they were young, and they switched over. But once they've had it for years, the thyroid doesn't have the ability to repair those cells that produce hormone, does not repair itself and come back. So other than people who are young in the process of the disease, I've never seen long-standing Hashimoto's thyroiditis or long-standing hypothyroidism that's caused by Hashimoto's and not by iodine deficiency. I've never seen that come back again. The person had it for many years.
And you also say that thyroid medication, I take Nature-Throid, and you have been very, I guess the word I'm trying to use is comforting, to know that there are certain medications that do have severe side effects, and you should work your way out of it. But you had mentioned that thyroid medication doesn't have the side effects that most medications have.
If you need the thyroid medication, it's not dangerous to be on a reasonable dose. You shouldn't be overdosing yourself and taking more than you need, and you shouldn't be medicating yourself to push your TSH below 1. But if your level's between 1 and 3, then the thyroid medication is not hurting you.
Okay, 1 and 3.
TSH is between 1 and 3.
Okay, I could be asking you a bunch of questions, Dr. Fuhrman, but juicing. Let's talk about juicing versus smoothies. Which one's better? Are they both good?
They're both good, but we don't want to put a lot of fruit in our juices or smoothies. We should be eating fruit, mixing it with saliva, and chewing it. That's the way we get more vegetables in our diet. Of course, for a person with poor digestion or who's starting out and has a serious medical problem, we may want to flood their body with more of these vegetable anti-cancer compounds to help them make a recovery from their autoimmune condition or something. And then juicing enables us to expose the body to a high amount of phytochemicals, because we can put a couple of pounds of vegetables into the 1 glass of juice, and they couldn't really chew and eat that much vegetables. So it enables us to flood the body with more nutrients quickly. So there's the therapeutic effects of these things that are beneficial for most people, especially people who are just starting out in the program, to bring their levels of nutrients up. So there is some, how should I say, application of those foods in a healthy diet. And I juice. I have 2 or 3 glasses of vegetable juice a week. I enjoy that and feel it's good for you. But I don't think you should be drinking fruit juice. I don't put much apple. If I want a little bit of apple, put 1/4 of an apple to flavor it. I'll put a little bit of carrot and beet for sweetness, but I'm not drinking fruit juices.
Yeah, I know. And it's, you can't even juice it right, because it just gets all really messy. So you're saying that if you're going to juice vegetables with a very, very little amount of fruits. And then when it comes to smoothies, then you can add a little bit more
No, you
fruits
should still be eating relatively small amounts of fruit in your smoothies. Berries and a little banana, but it should be mostly a way of eating more vegetables. You don't have time to eat a salad, so calling it a blended salad and just flavor a little bit with some strawberries or blueberries. But I'm not recommending people use these sweet tasting banana date smoothies as part of their diet. It just increases, it's not for the purpose of, they're better off eating their salad and chewing their vegetables if they're not, and they're better off eating their fruits rather than putting them in a smoothie. Yes. But if they want to use it to eat a little bit of fruit to eat more vegetables in a smoothie, then it's okay.
Okay, very good. And before we go, Dr. Fuhrman, we've got lots of questions. I don't know if you want to go back and look at some of the questions on the page that people have asked. And I am so grateful for all of you who have gone on Facebook Live to be a part of this broadcast. Please help us spread the show, give it the thumbs up, share the video so that it could help, change the perspective of people. Because we're so lost, Dr. Fuhrman. We're so lost, and food is causing many people to be depressed, anxious, and feel hopeless. And so I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk a little bit about the Eat to Live Retreat Center, because many of the people who are watching that can call and let them know that you heard about this on the Lillian McDermott radio show. Share a little bit about what's happening at the retreat center and how you are changing lives, reverse diseases, cancer, and all the wonderful things that you're doing.
Right. Well, I get a lot of personal satisfaction. I'm so grateful for the opportunity I have to work with people like this. And I'm able to actually myself care for people that stay there, the guests that come in there. And they usually come in there with quite serious illnesses. They're significantly overweight. They're diabetic. This month I had 2 people with chest pain at rest. They were having heart disease, needed emergency cardio. They probably needed an angioplasty or bypass surgery, but instead they came to my center. And within a few weeks, we have their chest pains gone. And within a few months, they're walking up and down the hills with no heart disease anymore. And they've dropped a lot of weight and got off their blood pressure medications. So what I'm saying right now is that it's thrilling for me to have these people reverse their diseases. It's exciting for me to create a place that's so safe and that's well staffed with food that's so delicious that I grow in soil that I've made that soil myself, with all the right ingredients. So without commercial fertilizers, have the best food in the world. But the point is that the main point is that some people, our social environment is so addicting and perpetuates their desire, and they can't do this. They know they should. So many people know they should drop 50 pounds to 100 pounds. They know they should get rid of their high blood pressure medications. They know they know they can get rid of their diabetes. They've thought about this, and they know they should get healthier, but they just can't do it. And it's their emotional, their addiction, their emotions, their psychology, their upbringing. They just don't have the fortitude to make this work. But by putting them in this facility for 4 to 12 weeks, we give them the skills. We give them the emotional, fix their psychological and emotional issues, and really and retrain their taste buds and get rid of their addictions and have them learn to prefer this way of eating. So it really frees them for the rest of their life. So a person who like Nicole, who lost 50 pounds at the retreat, but then the next year after she went home, she lost another 150 pounds.
Wow.
She yo-yo dieted her whole life and could never stick on any program before. So it makes people able to stick with this. So even though people are saying, that's too expensive, I can't afford that, I can't get away, but there's so many people, this is saving their lives. And for so many people, they need something like this, because no matter how much it costs, what's your life worth? And think of all those medical expenses you're going to have in the future, and how all the hospitalizations and danger and flirting with death. And this is life-saving for so many people. So, we're trying to make it doable, but I'm putting together, the services that people in need can take available of to help people, so they don't have to be admitted to hospitals and they don't have to suffer with these illnesses the rest of their life, because nutritional excellence is so powerful, and it's just thrilling to watch the miraculous recoveries that it's enabled there.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Fuhrman, for everything that you're doing. We do need to change our perceptions of food. We act like food. We love our family. We love our family with our food. As a Spanish mom, I love to see my children eat. But that same food that we're giving these beautiful people that we're loving is really ultimately hurting them. So I love to say that my food is to live for. My food is to live for, and unfortunately, some people are closed-minded about the Nutritarian or eating healthy because they think they're missing out on taste. And I know that you can testify. I've made a lot of your recipes, and I've created my own from necessity. And there's nothing that we miss out on other than disease. And if we embrace a healthy lifestyle, instead of saying, I don't want to give up my burgers, I don't want to give up. Instead of seeing a lack and focusing on lack, we can focus on embracing good health. And you are such a champion. And I want to thank you, Dr. Fuhrman, for everything.
I'm so grateful for the people for have the opportunity to be able to be useful to people and help and to help people like that. And you can't help everybody. We just do the best we can. And for people who want help, that's who you have to be satisfied with.
Absolutely.
You can't feed everybody. You can't make it be miserable over it. No.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Fuhrman. And thank you for the extra time. For those of you who asked your questions on Facebook Live and we didn't get to it, I know that we're going to do this again. So stay tuned, because he is my rock star on the Lillian McDermott radio show. Please share this video and help the show grow. Like and support us by following. So Dr. Fuhrman is gone, and now it's your turn to make a change. It's time. So Please remember, I'll be right here waiting for you. Bye.